Whenever you start looking into alchemy, you're often met with talk of wisdom, enlightenment, purifying the soul, so on and so forth. But there is a dark side to it that isn't talked on a lot. A side that has been involved in activities like occult summoning, greed, and ritualistic murders, all in the pursuit of immortality or knowledge, a different yet parallel path towards obtaining the Philosopher's Stone and enlightenment. This is the tale of a man who some say committed over 100 murders in the pursuit of alchemy and his goals. A devious soul that took it upon himself to dive straight into his evil desires and just to lose it all in the end. I'm ready to begin. Let's dive right in. Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, was a French warrior renowned for her crucial role in the 100 Years' War during the 15th century. Born in Domremy, France, Joan claimed to have received divine guidance, leading her to support Dauphin Charles VII and inspire French troops to break the English siege of Orleans in the year 1429. Yet her divine guidance didn't heed her any warning to the one who was to be appointed as her protector on the battlefield and right-hand man to help win the battle against England. Gilles De Rais, destined to be remembered as a great leader in the French army, best known for his contributions in the 100 Years' War and his victory over the British. He was said to possess a pure soul, hailed as a pious man who earned the favor of his peers, all while forming a close companionship with none other than Joan of Arc. Rising to the esteemed title of Marshal of France, he retired from his military career as a wealthy man. Yet, it seems without the duties and cover of his military position that he retired from, he was freer than ever to pursue his more personal and sinister desires. His heroic acts on the battlefield were legendary, but beneath this veneer of valor laid a much more disturbing truth. He had a fascination with the occult, alchemy, and ritualistic practices. And he combined that obsession with his personal desire to murder children. With his seeming that Gilles' fascination with alchemy took a sinister turn, leading him down a dark path of occult practices and horrifying deeds. Gilles De Rais, a man who dabbled in the darkest aspects of alchemy, including the summoning of demons and the shocking use of children's bodies. Accused of being one of history's most horrifying serial killers, his life is shrouded in dark secrets that inspired the chilling tale of Bluebeard. A clear glance into the darker side of alchemy and the occult in the medieval world. Born in 1404 in Machecoul, Anjou, his early life was marked by privilege and wealth, as his family spared no expense on his education. The family riches allowed him an education beyond measure. Fluent in Latin, he became a patron of the arts and was deeply interested in physical training and military strategies. But tragedy struck when De Rais was just 10 years old, when his father, Guy de Laval, was killed in a hunting accident involving a boar. He may have possibly witnessed the incident, which was bound to be traumatizing to a child that age. And even more, within the following months, his mother, Marie de Cron, had mysteriously died, and her cause of death remains unknown. After the untimely deaths of his parents, he and his brother became wards of his grandfather, Jean de Cron. Raised by his grandfather, De Rais was said to have grown into an ill-tempered young man. And his resourceful grandfather was a noted political schemer, and Gilles ended up being coerced into arranged marriages for financial gain. By 1420, he succeeded into marrying to a wealthy family in Normandy. His marriage to Catherine de Tours, a Brittany heiress, elevated his status and wealth, rivaling even the French king. During the hectic 100 Years' War, Gilles' exceptional physical and military skills had solidified his status in 1429 when the Dauphin, who would later become Charles VII of France, gave him orders to watch over Joan of Arc on the field. As her official protector, De Rais had significant responsibilities and rose to the occasion. They were side by side when the French army rescued the city of Orleans from an English siege in 1429. This saw De Rais promoted to Marshal of France and attained invaluable status, a remarkable honor for someone so young. He fought gallantly alongside Joan of Arc, achieving significant victories. 2 years later, on May 30th in the year 1431, Joan of Arc was captured and burned to death by the English in the city of Rouen. Marking an end to Joan of Arc, this pushed De Rais to forge ahead in his military service, which led to the French delivering a definitive victory over England in 1435. Now, in the midst of all this greatness and success for his nation, he had secretly been robbing his nation behind their back as well, of its youth. It seems that, ominously, he had already been murdering innocent children for the past 3 years, since around the year 1432. It's unsure if the death of Joan of Arc had anything to do with this complete mental shift, or if he had always been this way but never had the time and power to satisfy his desires. Apparently, as Marshal, De Rais had been sending his servants to find and abduct peasant children since 1432, and he was never even suspected due to the times, his money, and his status. By 1434, De Rais withdrew from public life and military service to pursue his own interests. These interests were centered around the extravagant theatrical spectacles he hosted in the Chapel of the Holy Innocents. De Rais squandered a fortune on living in excess and bad investments, including a 150-actor play about Joan of Arc and the Siege of Orleans in 1429. These grand productions were financially burdensome, driving De Rais into near bankruptcy. Selling off his properties, he eventually spiraled into debt, and his fascination with the occult and alchemy began to grow. Desperation for funds to fuel his lavish lifestyles, De Rais went to seek guidance in the occult and in the ways of alchemy. Through a cleric named Francais Pilati, he embarked on occult experimentation, attempting to summon a demon named Baron. Disturbingly, De Rais believed that offering the body parts of children was necessary to gain the attention of the demon, a theory rooted in some alchemical practices and dark rituals. During medieval Europe, there were various practices and dark rituals associated with the occult and alchemy, some of which may have influenced Gilles De Rais' disturbing beliefs. Necromancy, the conjuration of spirits, particularly the dead, was a common element in dark rituals. Practitioners believed they could gain power or insight from communicating with spirits or even commanding them. Blood magic. Rituals involving the use of blood, often from animals but sometimes humans, were believed to enhance one's connection to the spiritual world and could be used for various purposes, including summoning or invoking entities. Sacrifice. Some rituals involve sacrificing living beings such as animals or, in more extreme cases, humans. The act of offering of life was believed to appease or gain favor from otherworldly entities. Symbolism. The use of intricate symbols, sigils, and magical circles was common in medieval occult practices. These symbols were believed to have the power to protect or channel energies during rituals. The invocation of demons. Rituals that sought to invoke or control demons were part of the dark side of alchemy. Practitioners believed that making pacts with demons could grant them knowledge, power, and assistance. The exact moment when De Rais began using these dark practices and which exact ones he used remains unclear. These sinister practices involving children marked the beginning of his gruesome descent. Records are scarce, but tales suggest that De Rais kidnapped children, beheaded them, and indulged in twisted acts before taking their lives. His atrocities escalated with horrifying accounts of abuse and murder. The victims, mainly boys, were subjected to unspeakable acts, their bodies disposed of in gruesome ways. It was due to the disturbing reports that surfaced of young boys disappearing around his properties. Lured into his castle with promises of food and distractions, these innocent children allegedly were promised refuge and food but was faced with unimaginable horrors. Gilles and his accomplices are said to have indulged in macabre rituals, culminating in the grisly murder, dismemberment, and disposal of these young victims. There were plenty of rumors about the person responsible too. Villagers had their suspicions, and some even claimed to witness the servants of the day seemingly dumping bodies. Several servants from neighboring villages also came forward to testify that their children had gone missing after begging near De Rais Castle. One villager even claimed how De Rais' cousin borrowed his 12-year-old apprentice for work, but the boy was never seen again. But due to their poverty and the level of status, it was near impossible for them to accuse Gilles De Rais of the kidnappings without putting their own life at serious risk. They felt powerless. They were powerless, with no way of bringing this man to justice. Apparently, aside from being advised by local sorcerers to engage in the occult, he didn't just organize rituals involving the human sacrifice and dismemberment of children in hopes of raising demons to reestablish his finances. It was also an excuse for him to completely feed his sick hunger for the murder and torture of children, since he had been apparently doing this since 1432, before any record of him being interested in alchemy or the occult. It was only after De Rais abducted a priest in 1440 that the local church launched an investigation into his crimes. On May 15, 1440, De Rais and his men abducted a cleric from the church of Saint Diene de Morte following a dispute. The Bishop of Nantes rapidly launched an investigation, which led the church officials and lawmen to uncover evidence that De Rais had murdered up to 150 boys over the course of 8 years, a ridiculous amount and definitely classifies as one of the highest deaths ever recorded for a serial killer. I don't plan on disclosing everything that he did to these kids, just know that it was foul, but I will still put up a disclaimer from now for viewer discretion. For the trial, secular lawmen interviewed the servants of Gilles De Rais, and they admitted to abducting children for him and that he would abuse them before cutting off their heads. 2 other French clerics testified that De Rais engaged in alchemy, the occult, and was obsessed with the dark arts, and that he used the limbs of the victims for his rituals. There were plenty more testimonies as well, like saying that I will kiss the children after they already passed. And after uncovering this shocking evidence of child murders that intertwined with his disturbing alchemical pursuits, he was charged with sodomy, heresy, and murder, which of course he initially denied the accusations. Found guilty, he faced a chilling sentence. On October 26, 1440, Gilles De Rais was hanged and burned along with the rest of his accomplices in Nantes. Gilles De Rais' life story is a harrowing tale, delving into the darkest corners of alchemy and the malevolent forces he attempted to harness. Now, while there are alternative narratives that suggest political motives and doubt his confession, the haunting details of his actions are a stark reminder of the horrors that can emerge when the pursuit of power leads you into the abyss of darkness. So in the twisted tale of Gilles De Rais, we've unearthed the chilling intersection of alchemy and the occult with unspeakable horrors. His fascination with the mystical and the macabre led him down a path of ritualistic murder, a disturbing dance with demons and dark forces, all in the pursuit of power, immortality, and maybe even the elusive Philosopher's Stone. While his connection to alchemy might seem strange at first glance, it's important to recognize that the quest for the Philosopher's Stone, a central theme in alchemy, represented not just material transmutation but also spiritual enlightenment. Gilles De Rais, driven by a desire for power and knowledge, took his pursuit to a horrifying extreme. From his involvement in the occult, summoning demons, and performing dark rituals, his abhorrent acts of child abduction, abuse, and murder, Gilles De Rais exemplifies the dark underbelly of alchemical and mystical pursuits. His actions defy comprehensions, man, blurring the line between human ambition and unspeakable evil. Thank you for joining me today on this chilling exploration of the dark side of alchemy. Of course, there will be a dark side to it. Anything can become useful, whether it's held by people of virtue or, like in this case, a person that was hooked on a wicked vice. So if you like content like this, consider liking and subscribing to my channel, guys, and be safe, everyone.
How pliant is this Mephistopheles, full of obedience and humility, such is the force of magic and my spells. Now, Faustus, art thou conjurer laureate that canst command great Mephistopheles?
Now, Faustus, what wouldst thou have me do?